Everyone, thanks for joining us. We will get started in just a couple minutes. For those of you just joining us, good afternoon. We're so glad you're here. We will get started in a few minutes. Get started in just a couple minutes. Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are excited to bring Prospect Sierra to you this afternoon so that you can see if our school might be a good match for what your family is looking for. We have a great program for you this afternoon. You will be hearing from our head of school, who is actually home with her newborn, but she has a special message for all of you. You will hear from some other key administrators and from several of our amazing teachers. You will also have a chance to hear from our students, both current and alum. And finally, we will wrap up with the next steps in the admissions process. So with that, I am pleased to introduce Nisa Frank, our head of school.
My name is Nisa Frank. I'm the head of school here at Prospect Sierra, and I am not with you today because I am home tending to a new little one in my house. But I just wanted to make sure that you all receive the same warmth and joy that you would have if I were there with you today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am what's called a head of school, which is a role that not everybody knows what it is, but in independent school, my job is really just to make sure that everybody walks through the door as joyful and as safe and feeling capable of their role as possible. And so I take that job seriously, but it started a long time ago. I'm born and raised in Berkeley, California. I went to independent schools my entire life. My parents stretched completely to make sure that my brother and I had an independent school education from the time that we were in preschool all the way through high school. My family was incredibly intentional about having independent education for specifically Black children, as I went to an all family run independent school from preschool through 5th grade. And that shaped a lot of who I thought I would be in the future. And so being a teacher was very much on my list of people I wanted to be when I grew up. So it was organic for me to move on to being a teacher when I was in my 20s. So I moved to New York City, went to a wonderful graduate school called Bank Street College of Education, where I learned about progressive education. I learned to be an incredible listener of children and how the impact of that listening guided their learning and the program that we could create that centered them all the time. I stayed for about 12 years and created more of what I felt like was an internship process towards this role that I have now. I was a person who immersed herself in everything and every school I was in and took on both formal and informal roles that allowed me to now be a head of school who understands how a school functions, but even more importantly, empathizes with every role that exists within our space. I've been a student, I've been a teacher, I've been a director of admission, and now being someone who gets to think about the vision of our school and where we go from here feels like a real honor, but I also feel really prepared. Landing at Prospect Sierra was not something that I thought I would do when I was in my last role, which was as a lower school division head. I was really happy working with younger children as that had been my degree and my practice. But I saw myself here when I stepped onto the campus, and I saw not just my older self, I saw my younger self and what I experienced as a child in my elementary school experience that I referenced a little bit earlier. I saw the love, I saw the joy, I saw the compassion, and I saw the engagement. Kids were happy to be in their spaces. Adults were happy to be in their spaces. And so my hope is that today you get a sense of all of that through some of the other folks that you're going to hear from. Again, I wish I could be there with you, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what I do. At Prospect Sierra, our mission is to inspire and equip students to create a more inclusive and just world through deep and meaningful intellectual engagement, self-knowledge, and care for others. I love our mission because it's deeply rooted in our core values, which are love, justice, innovation, and impact. We've used those core values along with our mission to create a really dynamic vision for our future. The school went through a strategic planning exercise over the past year and a half and has settled on priorities that will enable a future for Prospect Sierra that'll last well beyond any of our years. Our vision is to be a vibrant and inclusive educational ecosystem in which students, faculty and staff and families learn, innovate, and thrive, creating mutual positive impact with the broader community. Those priorities include integrating across our efforts in change making, equity and inclusion, social emotional learning, and ecological literacy to deepen our rigorous program, to create more opportunities for students to gain agency and voice in their learning as true ecosystem partners, to design open pathways for educators to grow professionally and enhance their wellness, and to strengthen financial sustainability by developing creative connections to Prospect Sierra learning. We hope you bring you along in this vision for our school.
All right. So great to hear Nisa's voice. She is well at home with the little one. And I'm glad you got to hear her energy and her joy. I'm feeling that today. Just great to see her. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Tanaka. I'm the middle school division head, also known as a middle school principal. I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself and about our middle school and then pass it over to our teachers. I wanted to point you to the top left-hand corner, the picture up there. You'll see me looking very excited, holding a trophy with my older brother, Aaron, and my younger sister, Serena. And if you look closely at my soccer jersey, you'll see the letters EC on there. And those letters stand for El Cerrito, because I actually grew up in El Cerrito. I was born and raised here. I went to Kensington Elementary School, K to 6th grade, just up the street. And then I went to Windrush, a private school that has since closed, unfortunately, for 7th and 8th grade. It's actually now Summit, and it's near our elementary campus. And then I moved to Japan, where I went to an international school for high school. I loved being in a new place, and so for college, I decided to go somewhere a little bit different. I moved to Boston, where I did my undergraduate and my graduate degree, and I stayed there. Started my teaching career out there. About 8 years ago, I came back to California, and I was lucky to land at Prospect Sierra. I was first a 5th grade humanities teacher, and then 4 years ago, I took on this role at an exciting time in the world to take on our leadership role. And I feel so lucky to be here, to have landed in this place, a place where there's joyful, engaged, and passionate learners who want to make the world a better place. And that's all I need to be excited to come to school each day. I'm going to talk a little bit about middle school. I've only worked in middle schools, actually. I'm a middle school educator. Whenever I tell anyone this, I get some eye rolls, some big sighs sometimes. And I think that I understand where that's coming from. And for us at Prospect Sierra, we feel that middle school is an amazing time for opportunity and growth. And so we like to reframe a lot of the things that people think about when they think about middle school. Some people might say middle school students are rebellious. We like to think of them as kids who are very curious about the world around them. They want to know why the rules are what they are, why you get to step later than they do. And that's really a natural curiosity. And if you can tap into that, they are right there with you, right? To figure out how to engage them. Some folks might say they're distant, that maybe they're not speaking as much at the dinner table. I remember I asked my mom to drop me off a block down the street so I can act like I was walking to school and get a little feeling of what that feels like to be in the world. And that's because students are naturally looking to find out who they are. Who are they? Find their own identity. Who am I in comparison to my parents, my friends, my family, my siblings? And there needs to be a little bit of space for an opportunity for students to try to find themselves. And we like to cultivate that as much as possible. Some folks might say middle school students have big emotions, and we think that they might. A lot of it has to do with their social relationships being much more complicated, intimate, and deep, really different from elementary school. And it's so special to see these kids find these deep connections with friends, to learn from each other in a really meaningful way. And at the same time, in middle school, some of these relationships can rise and fall very quickly. And it can be really hard and exciting and hurtful all at the same time. But we see that as an opportunity for teaching kids how to navigate and create healthy social relationships, how to be a good friend in a complicated world. These are all these opportunities and times for them to learn those skills. And on top of all that, their bodies are changing. I think that's a classic experience of thinking about who you are, where your body is in comparison to others, hair growing in new places. There's a lot to be thinking about as a middle school student. And what I like to think about middle school is sometimes they come in and it feels like they almost split all the way apart, and we get a chance to see them rebuild themselves back into a whole new person by the end of their 8th grade time. And I feel that as middle school educators, we have the honor of being able to be there and help that process and imprint on a really, really foundational time in their lives. You can see our program here in front of you, all the various things that we do to help support that growth and that opportunity for these kids. I'm not going to go through all of them. You're going to hear more from our teachers in a moment, but I wanted to just quickly talk about, under the Caring Student Support section, our daily advisory meetings. There's just one structure that outlines the way that we try to encompass and be mindful of all the things I just shared. Our advisory program is a group of about 12 students and one teacher who's the advisor. And that group meets every morning. It's that soft landing, a place where students can feel safe, a responsive space, a place to solve problems, have fun, build relationships. And we think about that as their middle school family, and that advisor as their parent who's going to be their champion and help them navigate middle school. That's just one little example of one of the ways we try to hold all those pieces that students are going through. Another reason I believe our middle school is successful is because of our amazing teachers. It really comes down to our teachers. They are lifelong learners themselves, are people who are always trying to hone their craft, go to professional development, take feedback, and continue to figure out ways that they can be best for their students. And I feel that our whole school embodies that desire of wanting to continue to grow. And I feel like that's really refreshing to be in a place that is willing to try new things and to continue to push ourselves. Also, our teachers really value teacher-student relationship. If you came to our campus, you would see teachers playing basketball, cards with kids, talking about what happened on the weekend, telling jokes. It's not just in the classroom where that relationship exists. We know that a deep teaching-student relationship is important for any student, especially in middle school, for them to feel that they can be themselves, to be safe, and to have the opportunity to really learn from these amazing folks. And the last thing is our teachers just go above and beyond all the time. They're always looking for ways to, engage that student who might need a little help, to take a moment to call home, to grab a student at recess, to reach a student that might be having a hard time, or to build a relationship. And I see that on display day after day. I could talk about our teachers forever, but they are actually here. And I want to pass it over to our first teacher, Leslie Tran. She is one of our 5th grade humanities teachers. All right, Leslie.
Thank you, Nathan. And happy Sunday, everyone. My name is Leslie, and I am excited to tell you about the Humanities Department and our approach. One of the things I love most about our middle school program at Prospect Sierra is that students take a single integrated humanities course each year that combines the study of language arts and social studies, which at many other schools are separated as 2 separate subjects. Together, these disciplines encompass the inherent diversity, possibilities, and responsibilities of being human. So on a personal note, I really appreciate getting to teach humanities because I'm passionate about history and current events, but I also really enjoy talking about fiction, nerding out over grammar, helping students build their writing skills, and debating philosophical questions at Prospect Sierra. I get to do all of that. Every one of our humanities teachers loves to read, learn, think, write, and discuss, and we get to show up to work every day and do those things with our students. And the students really benefit from having a single teacher each year who can thoughtfully and intentionally make those connections between these different pursuits to create opportunities for deeper and more nuanced understandings. Overarching goal as a department, as you can see on the slide, is for our students to develop the knowledge, compassion, and sense of responsibility and core skills that they will get to use in a better world. So in order to achieve that goal, we spend plenty of time building foundational skills in key areas like reading, writing, geography, and research. We teach our students how to carefully gather and evaluate information from a range of resources with an open, informed, and discerning mind before drawing conclusions. We steer them through how to express themselves and communicate in a clear, creative, and compelling manner. In writing through a multi-step process of brainstorming, planning, drafting, receiving feedback, and using feedback as a guide for revising and editing to hone the message. We create opportunities for students to practice different modes of demonstrating their understanding with some assignments that are more creative, others that are more structured, and plenty that are a little bit of both. And we examine many significant topics and themes, both historical and current. But we also get to practice those important skills and deepen our understanding of those topics while pursuing big essential questions like, what is it that makes us human? What makes communities thrive? What is culture and how is it built? What does it mean to have values or a worldview? How can values and worldviews impact our decision making? What challenges have human societies faced over time? What challenges do we face now? How can changemakers, or how have changemakers worked toward overcoming those challenges and building a better future? How does history get written? Whose stories are often missing and why? How does the past shape our present? What does it mean to be a thoughtful solver? Whether we're sort of examining these questions through works of literature, historical moments, current events, or even case studies drawn from our students' own lives, we look for ways in which the topic is personally relevant to us as learners. So whether it provides a mirror of one's own experience or offers a window in the experiences of others. And in all of our units, we emphasize the importance of challenging assumptions, cultivating empathy, and keeping the human element of the issues at the center of everything we do. Thanks for listening. It's now my pleasure to introduce Marlene, who will be talking about math at Prospect Sierra.
Thanks, Leslie. I'm Marlene Costa, and one of the significant changes in middle school is the shift from concrete thinking to abstract reasoning. And we're always helping our students develop a growth mindset as they move from solidifying arithmetic fundamentals in 5th grade to mastering algebraic concepts in 8th grade. And so I'm going to tell you more about our math department by discussing the math mindsets that guide us. And these are inspired by Jo Boaler at Stanford, and she's a leader in math pedagogy. So at Prospect Sierra, we know that everyone can learn math to the highest levels. Ability is not fixed. We empower our students to understand that their capability and smartness grow as they persevere when it doesn't come easily. And students learn the importance of sitting with confusion, seeking help when it's needed, and getting ideas from others. We strongly know that and believe that mistakes are valuable. We believe that taking risks and making mistakes are key to learning, and wrong answers are opportunities for growth. And we celebrate mistakes as a means to deepen critical thinking. We also know that questions are essential in math. In middle school, students are exposed to a wide variety of mathematics. They're gaining a foundation in algebra, geometry, probability, statistics, and number theory. And middle school is where students are learning to think. We're helping them develop their mathematical reasoning skills, and we focus on concepts rather than on procedures. So we're asking students why all the time, and they're learning to ask of themselves and each other, why does that make sense? We also know that math is about creativity, and some people think of math as clean cut, like there's problems and answers and that's that. But math is more creative, and it's in the multiple pathways where math gets interesting. Our students become flexible problem solvers, and they're learning from themselves and each other that you can make sense of problems from a variety of approaches. We know that math is about connections and communicating, and as you can see from the photos, we know that learning is social. So students learn to listen to how others think in order to deepen their own understanding. And we're also highly aware that the gender gap can start to show up in middle school in math. And we model and discuss stepping up and stepping back, making space for others, and what being an ally and lifting each other up looks like. We're teaching our students to be capable mathematical communicators, and they are regularly asked to explain their reasoning both in verbally and written form and using images, and they learn to question each other's thinking and defend their own reasoning. We believe that depth is more important than speed. So we work really hard to create an environment where students develop comfort with taking risks, students see incorrect answers as a welcome step in understanding. We're going to get to the algorithm, but before we give students the algorithm, they're going to get a deeper background and understand how and why it works. And then by providing students with complex, unfamiliar problems, students reflect on their solutions, they're identifying their mistakes, and they're getting to try alternate paths. And they have daily opportunities to get creative and to stick with it. And last, we know that math is about learning and not performing. So students learn to explain what they think rather than waiting for us to explain, and they get lots of practice thinking critically and justifying their thinking. So in summary, our students are feeling challenged, capable, and successful. They're seeing the creativity in math and its application to real-world situations, and they are developing self-reliant thinking and critical questioning. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to pass it off to David, who is our incredible collab teacher.
All right, thanks, Marlene. I first want to give a quick overview of the whole arts department at our school. We have 2 visual arts and 2 performing arts. And at any given time, students will be having one of each. So every month we alternate between 2 of these, and then the next month students will switch to the other 2. So as a result, all students get all of the arts, which we feel passionately about. We feel that middle schoolers, you know, if they were left to choose sort of which art they go to, they might be never exposed to a field that they, by 7th or 8th grade, might be, you know, loving and excelling at. So briefly, music, we have a program that gets everybody singing, gets everybody playing instruments. Our teacher, Trevor, brings in songs from all over the world and different traditions like folk music, pop music, classical music, and teaches kids really to identify, you know, the different parts of compositions and write their own pieces throughout the year, as well as learning others. In our visual arts, our teacher, Julie, has been doing this for decades, and she is exposing students to different media, different techniques, and also really teaching them how to see things. You know, what makes a face, and why do some faces look different than others? And in drama, our teacher, Keith, does a couple plays a year, and all students will be learning monologues by themselves and learning to trust their classmates, learning what it means to be part of a team in an artistic sense. So even if, you know, students don't go on to be, you know, thespians, they are getting experience getting in front of a crowd, you know, public speaking. And lastly is the collab and makerspace, which is my field. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I intend for the collab makerspace to be a room where students can come up with ideas. In class, I'll give classes prompts and assignments, but they're welcome to bring in their own direction as well. You see here, I have a student this year who is building his own electric guitar. We do other really low tech prototyping, you know, mostly out of cardboard and recycled goods. But we work with students and get everybody using technology such as laser cutters and 3D modeling as well. On the next slide, you'll see how we try to bring in all the STEAM fields: science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. We pick projects where we can expose ourselves to thinking about mechanisms. You see on the bottom here is a very popular project we do with mouse traps, where we convert them into cars using their science technology. And Hannah, whom you'll hear from in a moment, is going to talk more about the science. I also have some slides here showing our wind turbine project, where students will experiment with the different variables needed to make wind turbine blades and then test how much energy they're generating. And a couple of these slides are from Cal Maritime, the college up in Vallejo, where we get invited to bring our projects to their wind turbine. And that's a really fun project. One other really fun project students can look forward to in 7th grade is the pinball machines. And this is just a great example of students starting with the design and bringing it all the way through prototyping and then to a finished project. And that's been a really fun collaboration also with some of their physics curriculum. Lastly, I just want to say, while we really encourage students to get their hands dirty, leave their iPads in their classrooms before they come to me, and just really get their brains thinking in 3 dimensions and creatively with low-tech materials. Students will get exposed to different programs. They'll get to make files for the laser cutter, do 3D modeling, do some robotics and other coding, so that when they leave Prospect, they're really prepared to go on in any any fields they enjoy, such as architecture, graphic design, 3D animation. So we hope it's a well-rounded program, and we bring a lot of joy through the 4 arts to students. And I'm going to now pass it over to Hannah, our 7th grade science teacher, whom I mentioned before. Thanks for listening.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Grimm. I am the 7th grade science teacher here at Prospect Sierra. I'm also the department head, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about our program. So our science department has its own mission statement, which you'll see on these slides. But to start us off, I want to talk about what we mean when we talk about science. When we talk about science at Prospect Sierra, we mean more than just physics, biology, chemistry, earth sciences, though obviously our students learn those as well. We also mean a tool for the pursuit of truth. Leslie talked about how important gathering and evaluating information is in humanities class, and science is a tool that we can use to do just that. It is a way of understanding the nature of the world. And at our school, we care very deeply about scientific literacy, critical thinking, and how we can use these tools to understand the issues that shape the world that these kids are growing up in, whether it is climate change, evolution, vaccinations, all of the things that shape how they will move forth in the world going forwards. We also believe very deeply that the work we do is interdisciplinary in nature. David just told you about our art department, but the observational skills that they are curating in art class are critical to the scientific method. The prototyping and engineering and problem solving that they do in CoLab connects deeply to everything we do. And as David mentioned, we do have a lot of partner projects where we actually work together with the CoLab. So folks are doing things that are hands-on, building with their hands, using lots of exciting tools. All the communication skills that they learn in drama are critical for science communicators, and being able to take what you have learned about the world and being able to share it in a meaningful way. Obviously, we connect constantly and deeply with math, whether it is looking at a graph of position over time and realizing, hey, actually, the velocity is a unit rate. That's what I've been learning about in math class. Or understanding direct and inverse correlations. We use the same vocabulary as the math classes are using. And you very rarely see that situation of like, oh, why am I learning this in math? Because they get to apply it constantly in science class. And even when it comes to things like humanities, the skills that they learn there, we use in science class. You might not expect a kid to be writing thesis paragraphs in their science class, but I do a history of the atomic theory unit where students learn how to take notes from a lecture, and they gather information, they evaluate it, they figure out which parts are useful, they think about key questions, and they end up writing thesis paragraphs, really giving them a chance to apply everything they've learned in these other subjects in a new context. Beyond that, we think of science as something that is fundamentally collaborative. When you are interpreting data, you bring all of your past history, your identity, everything that you have experienced with you to that data. And the things that each person is capable of seeing in that information really is dependent on who is looking at it. And because of that, we think it is critical that people of all genders, of all races, of all backgrounds are capable of seeing themselves as capable scientists with valuable and necessary contributions to make. Because if we only have one kind of set of eyes on the work that we do, we're only going to come to one kind of conclusion. And because of that, our department takes very seriously this responsibility to nurture every single student and make sure that they feel held and loved and honored by our department, and that they see their voice as something that is not only valuable, but necessary. And of course, we love to get hands-on. We love to get our hands dirty, whether it is the 6th graders heading out to our hillside area to take notes on nature, whether it is students engaging in lots of labs and activities. We are constantly building things. David already mentions the mousetrap cars. We build speakers. We build record players. You can see in the middle here a picture of a project where every single student learns how to solder. They study electronics and they build little bits of artwork that they light up with bits of surface mount LEDs. So every single student comes through, they're all tinkering, they're all engineering, they're all problem solving constantly across every single grade. You can go ahead and flip to the next slide, Amy. And by the time they finish at Prospect Sierra, we want to make sure that they feel like they are capable, confident scientists, that they know how to design their own experiments, that they can collect data, that they can analyze data, that they know how to share that data, not just in a written lab report, which of course is very useful practice for high schools, but also in presentations, and really cultivate the skill of being a good science communicator, because it's not enough to have the data if you can't get people to care about it. So teaching students to not only be passionate about the sciences, but to share that passion with others in a way that is compelling is a really core skill that we want every student to graduate with. Speaking of graduating Prospect Sierra, I'm going to hand us off now to our incredible high school placement counselor, Emily Burns, who I believe is here with us via video today.
Unmute yourself, Amy.
Hello, my name is Emily Burns, and I am the high school placement counselor here at Prospect Sierra. There are 3 important guidelines to working with families in this process. They are partnership, balance, and fit. I start working with families in the spring of 7th grade and then throughout the entire year of 8th grade. And I am your partner in this process. I will be there every step of the way, holding your hand, making sure you're not missing out on a single deadline or opportunity. I'm in it with you. And then balance is another important part of this process. We want 8th graders to still feel like 8th graders and not always be looking ahead to high school. So we really encourage to take a sense of balance when it comes to this process. Not every conversation at the dinner table needs to be about high school. And there's a way to strike a good balance between being present in 8th grade and looking forward to the future. And then fit. Fit is a word I say all the time. It's really important for you and your student to feel what is going to be a good fit for them when it comes to this next step. So I really encourage families to let go of any stereotypes or things that they've maybe heard about certain schools before they start this process. And doing your own research, visiting, and making your own opinions about these places are really important. So there are no good or bad schools, but there are schools that are going to be a better or worse fit for your student. And I'm here to help you figure that out as well. 97% of our students are admitted to their first or second choice high school. And those high schools include the following. About 1/3 of our students end up at independent high schools across the Bay Area and beyond, including places like College Prep, Athenian, Lick Wilmerding, Branson, and others. And then 1/3 of our students end up at parochial high school, places like St. Mary's, Bishop O'Dowd, Salesian, and more. And then the other group, the last third, end up at public high school. And these include places like Berkeley High, El Cerrito High, Albany High, Oakland Tech, and others. So I'm here to help you along the way. That's a great part of the Prospect Sierra program. And our students do great at all of these different schools after they leave Prospect Sierra. And I'm excited to introduce to you today one of our graduates. So take it away.
Hi, my name is Alina Palacios. I'm 15 and currently a sophomore at the Branson School. I started off in a public elementary school, and in the 6th grade, I transitioned into Prospect Sierra. My transition was very smooth. Prospect Sierra expects a lot of incoming students in the 6th grade specifically, so they were prepared with things like orientation and just activities in general for everyone to get to know each other. Halfway through my time there at Prospect Sierra, the pandemic did start, which unfortunately meant we had to be on Zoom. But that was truly the time when I realized how much Prospect Sierra cares and how much they care about keeping us engaged. I feel like the transition to high school from Prospect Sierra was also very smooth. We had a high school counselor who was amazing and supported not only us, but also our parents throughout the entire process. I felt very prepared for high school academically, but also socially, with Prospect emphasizing their core values, one of the main ones being community. I feel like I left Prospect Sierra with a couple skills, such as keeping an open mind and accepting and acting on feedback.
Thank you, Alina. It's always wonderful to hear from our alums. It seems like just yesterday she was entering as a 6th grader. Happy Sunday, everyone. My name is Amy Milliken, and I am the Dean of Students here at Prospect Sierra, and I also teach 7th and 8th grade life skills, which is a class all about decision-making and community membership. I come to this work as my 5th year, and I come to this work with lots of experience in the public school world. I started teaching in a one-room school in rural Montana. I taught in Chicago public schools, in San Francisco, have done a lot of work in teacher ed. So I bring a lot of those diverse perspectives to my work here at Prospect Sierra, and I truly, truly love working here, and I love working with the students. One of the things that feels very special to me about my role is that I am both an administrator and a teacher. And so I get to really keep a foot in both of those worlds, which is very energizing. And I get to work very closely with students, with teachers, and with families. And I also get to see students on their full 5th or 6th to 8th grade journey. I get to know them every step of the way and watch as they grow and develop. So that's another huge privilege of my work, and really helps me to bring a depth of understanding and empathy to my relationships with students. So I'm part of the student support team. And on an earlier slide, you may have noticed when Nathan was speaking that it said Dean of Students, and then it said comma advocate. That's absolutely how I see my work. And so on the student support team, I work very closely with our school counselor and our 2 school learning specialists. Together, we really work to understand students holistically, using the lenses of academics, behavior, socio-emotional development. We try to really understand students in complex ways. I like to talk about the difference between causes and symptoms. Lots of students show up with symptoms, and they may be in the way they're struggling with something or the way they're behaving. And the student support team really tries to look at those symptoms and understand the causes that underlie them. Another thing that the student support team does is we provide a lot of support to teachers in addition to students. So we might support a lesson in study hall that advisors might be giving on executive function or supporting the use of student planners. We might write advisory lesson plans for advisory that are centered around current events or things that are happening in our community that we want advisors to support students with. There might be something really big going on in the news, and the student support team might work collaboratively to think about how to help advisors and other teachers support students through all the feelings that come up with all the many, many events in our world. Sometimes we run small groups that might include a social skills group. We work with students one-on-one. We do lots of conflict resolution with students. And this is really corny, but I think a little bit about the student support team as sort of providing a collective hug around all of the people in the school, and really, focusing on wellness, and how we bring our best selves every day. Part of that means celebrating mistakes. You heard Marlene talk about that when she was speaking about math, and that is a huge theme that runs throughout the school. We believe that mistakes are, expected, respected, and inspected. They are a critical part of how we learn. And so we really want to help students take good advantage of the moments of slipping and falling, and supporting them to get back up, supporting them to take responsibility, and also to forgive themselves. And I think both of those things can be really hard for middle schoolers. So we spend a lot of time supporting kids in that struggle. So the next two things on the slide say student choice and voice, empowerment, and advocacy. When I think about our school, even just walking across the campus, which I hope you will all have the opportunity to do, it's hard for me to think about any place on our campus that isn't in some way touched by students, whether that's the messages that students wanted to put up about positive body image in one of the bathrooms, whether it's a mural that's on, part of a stone wall, whether it's the teach-in that students started a few years back in response to things going on in the political landscape. Student voice is everywhere, and it shows up in big and small ways. We have a student council that I help facilitate. Students run a student store. They develop events and are in charge of putting on those events on campus, most especially the student dances, which are the most exciting. They also are currently raising money to honor one of our alums with an Alumni Action Award. So they're really doing a lot of very innovative and exciting things as they develop their leadership. A group of students several years ago started a student-run newspaper that's active and reports on a whole wide variety of topics. We have a Green Council, we have a middle school diversity club. There are so many ways for students to be engaged. We support cohort groups where students come together by affinity so that they have an opportunity to be with people who have a shared experience that they have and talk about the kinds of things that are coming up for them. So many different ways of being. And I think for us, what we really want for middle schoolers is to try on different ways of being, to ask themselves, what do I care about? What am I interested in? Who do I want to be in the world? And to give them lots of opportunities to explore those things and be right there with them when they pivot and decide that they're actually going to be somebody entirely different next week. So that's a little bit about our student support team and my role and the ways in which we lift up student voices. Now we are actually going to hear from some wonderful current students.
I started this year as a 6th grader, and my transition has been pretty good. At first I was nervous because I was going from one big class to 6 different classes. But what really helped me was the 3-day orientation that the school gave us new students. And I got to connect with teachers and new students. And I thought that was really cool. My relationships with our teachers are great. They make me feel cared and they're really supportive towards me. An example is when I was in math, I was having trouble, and one of my math teachers were really nice and took me step by step on how to solve the math problem. I'm in a Black/African American cohort, and that's really what I look forward to every month because I get to meet new Black kids and share and connect on struggles and good times. Prospects here makes students' voices as real voices, and they always make sure that we feel comfortable and safe and cared about and supportive.
My transition to Prospect Sierra was pretty smooth. My relationship with teachers is really strong. They're very communicative and really want you to succeed last winter. And this winter, I plan on participating in the basketball team. The basketball team is really, for me, just a way to connect with my friends and have a good time. I have a really good relationship with my teachers. I really like all of them, especially in 7th grade. I still talk to them periodically, and everyone's really supportive. The school is really special. The teachers are really special, and the way that like the administration handles situations and the way everyone treats each other is really nice. Everyone's bonded a lot, and it's very much a really good community. Whenever new kids come in, everyone's really friendly to them, and usually it's easy to get integrated because there's a lot of group projects and stuff. So you have to talk to them, and yeah, that was really nice. And they do a pretty good job of like introducing people. And there's advisory where it's just basically hangout time, and that also helps integrate.
It's a great campus. Everyone was really nice, and I made a lot of new friends quickly. I was in like new pods with new people, and I got to move around. And the teachers were great. I got to meet new teachers, and they were all really supportive and helped me get my way through every single problem I had in a way that made sense for me. They're not just telling you what to do. You're kind of telling them what you did. So they give you the problems, and then you can solve it really however you want. 6th grade now, it's a little more challenging, but I feel like I'm really stretching myself and learning. No matter what your grade is, you really have something to do related to sports. Like they have a frisbee team, and then you can play football in 7th and 8th. That's fun. I was basketball team manager in 5th grade, and you can play in practice. You can like work the scoreboard, all kinds of stuff like that. Prospect Sierra is special to me because you can learn whichever way is best for you. So like say you learn visually or like writing stuff down, doing problems. You can do it any way you want. That's what I really think is special about Prospect Sierra.
Hi, everyone. I love hearing from our kids because they really are the heart of everything we do here. My name is Amy Sullivan. I am the Director of Middle School Admissions here at Prospect Sierra. This is my 14th year here at the school, and I am also a proud parent of a Prospect Sierra 3rd grader. My son Max started here in kindergarten. And I will say, both as a person who works here and especially as a parent, I every day feel immensely grateful to be part of this community, sincerely. My role in admissions is to partner with you and be your guide through this process. And our whole admissions team is here to partner with you. Myself, Renee, Beth, we really work collaboratively to hopefully make your experience a joyful one. We know that looking at schools can feel daunting. There are a lot of them out there, but we are here for you to hopefully make all of this as clear and transparent for you as possible, and to help along the way, whether or not you've ever had any experience with independent schools. So as we get to know each other over the next few months, if there are any questions or you're looking for any kind of guidance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at our email address that goes to all of us, as you can see here, admissions@prospectsierra.org, and we will try to partner with you as best as possible. Our middle school campus that we casually refer to as Avis, because we're on Avis Drive, is home to grades 5 through 8. Our major point of entry, though, for the middle school is 6th grade, where we go from 48 students to 72. So we're looking for lots of great new students and families to join us at that time. Families who really share our values and our commitment to deep intellectual engagement, self-knowledge, care for others, and making the world a better place. At this time, I want to let you know that we are only accepting applications for 6th grade. For families interested in grades 5 and 7, we are going to ask that you check back with us a little bit later in February, when we'll know more about what our re-enrollment looks like for next year. And at that time, if we are able to accept applications, then we will make sure to expedite the process such that you can still have a decision in March, along with everyone else. I want to just make sure you know that for those of you who are interested in applying for 6th grade, that our application deadline is January 20th. And that is also our deadline for applying for flexible tuition. We often say that we want our community to reflect to the diversity that is the East Bay. And we sincerely mean that. We don't want the financial piece to be seen as a barrier for you to check out Prospect Sierra, to see a Prospect Sierra education as possible for your child and for your family. So if you have any questions about flexible tuition, please do reach out. We are always here to answer your questions, and we want to work with your family through the whole process. So we hope this is just the beginning of our journey together, and then we'll get to know you better over the next few months. And one way to do that is through the various events that we have planned to help you get to know the school. We really want to try to have a variety of events so that the process feels as low stress and also informative as possible. So coming up, there are a lot of opportunities for things that we hope you will join us for, such as weekday campus tours. We have very limited space. They're for adults only, but it's a great way to see classes in session. We also have weekend strolls with many more opportunities for families who, if you want to come to campus with your child, this is the event for you. They're for the whole family. We have 2 different days of weekend strolls, one in January, one in February. So I would recommend signing up for those. We also have many virtual information sessions throughout November, December, and January. And that is a great time to hear more deeply from our administrators, to get to hear from parents, and to have a chance to get all of your questions answered in an interactive Q&A session. Finally, we have a series of community connection events in the evenings to focus on different parts of who we are. There is a conversation with Nisa once she's back. There are parent panels, and one of my favorite events, Kids Talk for Kids, where we really invite your kids to hear other Prospect Sierra students talk about their experience firsthand. And you can sign up for all of these through Ravenna. For now, though, and until we see you again, we hope that you will visit our website, where you'll find lots of information about the school, with everything from our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement to a full curriculum matrix, and many, many more aspects of the school that are featured. So we are so grateful that you've taken the time today to come learn what Prospect Sierra is all about. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again soon. So thank you, everyone. And thank you again to our wonderful faculty and administrators for presenting today.